All right, welcome back. We're talking with John Mills, the External Affairs Officer for FEMA. You've seen him on TV with me. Now he's here in person. John, welcome aboard.
Martin, thanks so much for the invitation. Really appreciate it.
So let's start off because we have a lot of tough questions, but you're ready to answer them. FEMA on the ground. Just give me your assessment up to this point. Where is Terrebonne and where is Lafourche at this point?
Well, I've been visiting the area for a few weeks now, and on one hand, it's really good to see a lot of recovery progress. You're seeing more and more businesses getting back open again thanks to the power restoration efforts. You're seeing a lot of people making home repairs, a lot of debris removal taking place. At the same time, as you well know, a lot of people are going through a really difficult time. So we're working with each household on a case-by-case basis, especially for people who don't have insurance coverage for their serious needs. By law, we're not allowed to duplicate insurance payments, but we are approving a lot of money to help people make some basic home repairs, to rent a place to live temporarily, and help them with some other serious needs.
When an inspector goes to a home, what's the latitude that each has? Because one inspector may have a set of different questions than somebody else. Is there a set of questions that they're governed by, so to speak?
Really you'll see a lot of different people in different neighborhoods. So you might see insurance adjusters for people who have homeowners insurance for wind and rain damage, flood insurance for flood damage, and then FEMA has contract inspectors. They're not FEMA employees, but they work for a company that FEMA hires to conduct damage inspections. Those inspectors are really just checking for habitability of a primary residence. So it may not be a thorough assessment of the entire property and the land and outbuildings and so forth. It's the habitability of that primary residence, and based on that inspection, and we've done more than 250,000 of them so far in southeast Louisiana, FEMA is able to approve more money for people whose primary residence is affected, for basic home repairs, rental assistance for people who need to relocate, and other serious needs. And I can give you some of the information about how much money's been approved and so forth.
Okay, now you say 250,000. What areas does that cover, southeast Louisiana?
Right, so basically if you look at all of southeast Louisiana, what you might say is the boot of Louisiana. And so of course the hardest hit areas are the ones you well know of, where Hurricane Ida roared ashore and made landfall, in particular in Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes, but also all the way over in Plaquemines, a lot of serious damage, and then you're seeing damage all the way up north into the Baton Rouge area. So it's 25 parishes in Louisiana are designated for individual assistance in this major disaster declaration that was signed at the request of the governor. Why
do you think the mayor of Grand Isle and the parish presidents, and especially Archie Chesson in Lafourche, he was pretty hot under the collar too. But, and I'm asking people, when I'm out there, John, I'm asking them, have you heard from FEMA? And a lot of them are telling me, we did hear from FEMA, but I got denied. What's the ratio between getting money from FEMA and being denied? Seems the denials are quite a bit.
Well, I can give you some of the latest numbers right now, and
Sure.
I'll try to answer that question as best I can.
All right.
So just as of this weekend, FEMA has provided more than $721 million in grants. That's $721 million in grants, and that's money directly to individual homeowners and renters who are telling us that their primary residence was affected by
What area is the 721 million? Is that the
So
boot
that's
again?
across 25 parishes, correct. So all of southeast Louisiana, basically from Plaquemines all the way across to St. Mary, up to the Baton Rouge area, and all the way across through Tangipahoa and other parishes in the north.
Can you break that down from of what parishes got what monies?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
great.
I have some right here, and when we come back, I can give you for other parishes, but what I prepared for you was Terrebonne and Lafourche in particular, because I know that's what you are really focusing on. So just checking
and as
today.
compared to New Orleans, I'm trying to see if how much we're getting compared to New Orleans.
Okay. So across Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes, based on these latest numbers, FEMA has provided $134 million in grants. That's $134 million. And that money's for homeowners and renters whose primary residence was affected. We've approved more than 54,000 households across both Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes, and we have about 1,600 households, families staying in hotels in FEMA's hotel program, which is called Transitional Sheltering Assistance. So in addition to the money, we've been notifying families that they're eligible to stay in a hotel at FEMA's expense because they can't live in their home because of the damage.
So you got 134 million in Terrebonne and Lafourche.
Right, and I'll break that down by parish for you here real fast. So for Terrebonne Parish, $74.5 million in grants provided by FEMA, 74.5 million. About 29,500 households in Terrebonne Parish have received that money. Most of them choose to receive it by direct deposit. It is possible to receive it by U.S. mail. Most people choose direct deposit because it's so fast. We have about 1,100 households who've been displaced from their homes in Terrebonne Parish who are staying in hotels, either within the parish or in another location where they can find an available room. And that can include elsewhere in Louisiana, and then also potentially in places like Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, and other states. We're trying to give people choice about their needs, so whether they use FEMA money for home repairs or rental assistance.
And let me ask you, John, can we go back to Lafourche?
Sure.
You gave us the numbers for Terrebonne. Our neighbors in Lafourche, can you give me some numbers for them?
Sure thing. So as I told you, Terrebonne Parish, we've provided $74.5 million in grants. In Lafourche Parish, we're now over $61 million provided so far. Those are just some numbers that I checked this morning. So about $61 million in FEMA grants provided to people in Lafourche Parish for basic home repairs, temporary rental assistance, and other serious needs related to Hurricane Ida. By law, we're not allowed to duplicate insurance payments, so that's all for needs not covered by insurance. In Lafourche Parish, we've approved more than 24,700 households based on some of these numbers I'm just checking, so 24,700. And then in addition to that, the FEMA hotel program, more than 500 households who've been displaced from their homes in Lafourche Parish are staying in hotels. Across those two parishes, Terrebonne, we've completed more than 18,200 home inspections. That's about 76% complete. And Lafourche Parish, we've completed 13,700 home inspections, which is about 74% complete.
Let me ask you on the inspections. That's where the discrepancy comes in. Jane gets an inspector that's pretty liberal with his thinking. I don't mean liberal in political views. Just says, yep, let me write you up, let me help you out. John, on the other hand, gets somebody very strict, very not so nice, and he gets a lot less or denied. What makes them all the same? Or are they all different?
What we would really encourage people to do is be really specific when you get a visit from a home inspector. Be really specific about what your needs are related to the habitability of your home. So if your home is not safe to live in your opinion, based on the damage you've sustained, be sure the inspector sees everything related to the habitability of your home and be specific about what your needs are related to Hurricane Ida.
What if you don't have power and you can't get the parish to put power in your home for whatever reason?
I would make sure FEMA is aware that you need to relocate. We're not asking you to relocate permanently, but if you need to relocate, if you want to relocate, be very clear about why you need to relocate. And if that's the issue, be very clear about that. I would suggest calling FEMA directly at 800-621-3362.
Give me that number again, John.
So that's 1-800-621-3362, and that's how you can call FEMA directly. After you apply, you get a 9-digit FEMA ID number. You hold on to that number, and they can look you up very quickly.
Now, what happens if you are displaced? Some of these apartment complexes want a 6-month lease or a 1-year lease. You got to sign it because there's no places to live. What do you do in that respect? Does FEMA take care of that 1-year contract? What do they do?
In most cases, people who are eligible for rental assistance money are receiving up to 2 months of rental assistance to begin with. The amount is based on your family size and what we call the HUD FMR rate, the fair market rent rate. So you may receive 2 months of rental assistance. If you're still displaced from your home, you may be eligible for continued rental assistance, and we'll work with you on a case-by-case basis on that. But FEMA is not promising up to 6 months or a year of rent in advance.
Okay, fair enough. What's the fair market rate? Do you have that?
It can vary, but for example, it could be a few hundred to over $1,000 per household, depending on your family size. So if your family size requires 2 bedrooms, they would give you the HUD FMR rate for that, and you can look it up online.
Okay, let me ask you this. So Terrebonne got 74.5 million. Lafourche, did you say 61 million?
Yes.
How does that compare with New Orleans per se?
And I was just checking some of these numbers because you were asking, and so of the numbers I'm looking at here are a couple of days old, but they're generally accurate right now. So in Orleans Parish, FEMA has provided about $151 million in grants, and larger population size there. So 107,000 households have been approved.
Yeah, but wouldn't you agree less damage in Orleans and Terrebonne and Lafourche?
I think it's going to vary based on, because remember, FEMA provides assistance for needs not covered by insurance.
Okay.
And so you have 107,000 households approved in Orleans Parish for $151 million. In Terrebonne, basically half that money, but for less than 1/3 of the total number of households approved. So on average, it's probably a little bit more based on those damage inspections.
So before we get to the break, and I want to talk about trailers too, but if you supply people, when you say 74.5 million and 61 million, is that what's been put in the computer, or have y'all actually deposited those monies?
Yeah, so that money has been dispersed, and in most cases, people receive it by direct deposit.
So that's already been dispersed, those monies?
That's correct.
Okay.
But think of it this way. FEMA is our individual assistance program is not designed to build your house back to the way it was before the storm if you don't have any insurance coverage. It's really designed just to give people a hand up. So let's say that you have serious damage at your home and you have a family and you've been provided with $2,000 in grant money to help restore that home to a habitable condition. We understand that's not enough. We'd like you to stay in touch with FEMA about what your needs are. For some people, that may be enough money to make some basic home repairs to make their home habitable again, and it may be enough to help cover some of their hotel expenses or rental assistance costs, to rent a place to live temporarily until they can make some repairs and figure out their next steps.
What would you say? You said 74 million in Terrebonne, 61 million in Lafourche. I know we're guesstimating. What's the average check per qualified individual in Terrebonne and Lafourche?
We don't like to talk about averages because we work with everyone on a case-by-case basis, but I was just doing a calculation with you during the break. So on average, of the 29,500 households approved for about $75 million so far in Terrebonne Parish, it's about $2,500 on average in FEMA grant money that's been provided to each household. However, as I said, it can vary widely because it's based on level of damage, level of insurance coverage, and need in each particular household, and that's why we're encouraging people to stay in touch with FEMA, either on the phone at 800-621-3362, online at disasterassistance.gov, or by visiting one of the disaster recovery centers we have open. We have one at the Homa Civic Center, and then we have 2 in Lafourche Parish, one at Go Pass in Golden Meadow, right off the side of the highway. And then we have another one at the LPG Government Complex in Raceland. So
well, let me give you some credit, and I'll see more about that in the audience too. Because it seems to me in talking with you that homeowners FEMA and government FEMA are 2 different sectors. Am I correct?
Well, right now, we've really been prioritizing the people. So we've been trying to get money into the hands of survivors who've been hard hit by the storm, whose home, their primary residence, is seriously affected. So that's the first priority. In addition to that, we'll also be working in coming weeks and months with local governments to help them get reimbursements through the state for debris removal, emergency protective measures, and restoration of infrastructure and facilities. So that's a longer process, but obviously there are a lot of expenses that local governments are facing right now for debris removal costs and emergency protective measures like sheltering and restoration of damaged infrastructure and facilities.
Why are the parish presidents so upset? What's your take on that? What are they not getting that you'd want them to know? Let's be fair with you all.
Well, we've been working as quickly as possible in all of the parishes. I was in Grand Isle, for example, a week ago Sunday, and I was with
You
a
got to
team.
admit that looked ugly.
I was with a team of 6 people, and we were set up at the government building called the Multiplex
Right.
there, and we were working with individual survivors, helping them with their cases. And I met one of the elected council members, and I met a gentleman who was the deputy incident commander, and I was there for several hours. I didn't go back the next day. The team was back the next day, also helping folks. So we're on the ground in a lot of these areas. So in some ways, I don't know the answer to what you're specifically asking, because we're
But I want to
certainly
be
there
fair.
and providing
I want to
a
be
lot of
fair to everybody involved. If y'all are putting $74 million on the ground in Terrebonne and $61 million in Lafourche, I'm trying to find out where's the disconnect so we can correct it and get people whole again.
Right now, I'm not going to worry too much about that, in particular if it's a political question.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is help disaster survivors.
Yeah.
So it's not just FEMA. Insurance is your first line of defense. If you live in Louisiana and you don't have flood insurance, you are risking financial ruin. Now, maybe not everybody can afford it. If you're living in Louisiana and you don't have homeowners insurance, you're risking serious trouble. So we would encourage people to get insurance if they can. Homeowners insurance, renters insurance, and flood insurance. By law, FEMA is not allowed to duplicate insurance payments, and the FEMA Individual Assistance Program is only designed to help people get back on their feet, give them a hand up so they can begin their recovery. Longer-term housing is challenging. We've got a housing crisis in the country, affordable housing in particular. In a high-risk flood zone, like a lot of southeast Louisiana unfortunately is, you have some building restrictions, building codes, and FEMA has to follow the laws. And so bringing in housing can be challenging afterwards because you have to take all those things into account. At the same time, in a state that gets hit by hurricanes and unfortunately gets a lot of major disasters, for that, we're very mindful that people are going through a lot right now. And so it's not only FEMA. FEMA is working to support the state. We also have voluntary agency liaisons. They're coordinating with nonprofit organizations. And you're seeing charitable, faith-based, and voluntary organizations making a big difference in people's lives. If you're a member of a church group, a community organization, and you have young people, there's never been a better time for young people to volunteer, to work with one another.
Let me ask you real quick, got about 90 seconds left. Give me the locations where people can go and apply or contest their denial or anything else that they might want to do.
I would encourage people to visit the disaster recovery centers we have. We have more than 15 of them set up right now, so you don't have to visit the one in Terrebonne or Lafourche. You can visit whatever parish you want to visit. We have them all listed on the FEMA app. But right here locally in Terrebonne, we're set up at the Homa Civic Center. So that's the Homa Civic Center. And then we're also at 2 locations in Lafourche, one at Go Pass in Golden Meadow, and then the other is at the LPG Government Complex in Raceland. You can sit down with FEMA face-to-face. If you've got a mistake on your application, want to provide some updated information, we'll walk you right through the process. You may also be referred to the Small Business Administration, the SBA, which makes disaster loans not only to businesses, but also to homeowners and renters after a disaster like this. So it may be FEMA grant money and an SBA disaster loan that's going to help people who don't have
All right,
insurance.
John, we've got 30 seconds left. Give that number again real slow so people can write it down.
It's 1-800-621-3362. That's 1-800-621-3362.
John, thank you for coming in. We'll try to get you on next week for an update. How about that?
Well, thank you, Martin.
All right,
Appreciate it.
All right, John. All right, we'll be back. Don't go away.